Hey, Jared Lajani here with Main Street Mogul. We're coming to you today from Orlando, the PJB conference. We're learning a lot, and I'm so excited today to bring you an interview with my friend Eric Snider. He is the owner of Unity Property and Pest Management out of Ohio. He provides pest control services as well as home inspection services. So I hope you get some value, maybe some entertainment out of the interview we're going to be doing with Eric today. He's a great guy. If you do get value, please like and subscribe. Thank you, guys. Hi, guys. Welcome to Main Street Mogul. Here with my good friend Eric Snider from Ohio. I think you guys are going to love this video, this episode. Eric is a very energetic guy, very ambitious guy. He has an amazing story. So I'll just kind of let him introduce himself a little bit, and just kind of tell you a little bit about, let him tell you a little bit about what he's doing. So go ahead, Eric.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks for having me. Hi, guys. My name's Eric Snider. I'm from Akron, Ohio, where we currently own Unity Property and Pest. We are a local pest control and home inspection company up and serving all of Northeast Ohio and the surrounding areas.
All right, man. Thank you. So in Main Street Mogul, man, we always want to tell the entrepreneur story, kind of get to know you a little bit, know your background, and kind of know what led you to be an entrepreneur. I always like to start, like, tell me a little bit about your childhood, if you don't mind. Like,
Sure.
Who was the young Eric, like, growing up in Akron, Ohio? What was that like for you?
Yeah, growing up as a kid, I come from a great family. Had a hardworking mother. She was an RN. I had a hardworking father. He owned his own business. He owned a small drain and plumbing company.
Okay.
And my dad was
So
like,
entrepreneur was always in your family. You
Yeah.
saw that as a young kid growing up, your dad being an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. So, and he was just, an amazing father, somebody I looked up to. I had a great deal of respect for him. I loved going out on jobs, seeing him interact with the clients, providing them a great service, and it's something that in my heart, even from an early age, is something I wanted to do.
Wow.
I just was like, well, my dad's awesome. He's running a company. It's just
Yeah.
like, well, that's what I want to do.
Wow. So your dad was an inspiration, then him being an entrepreneur was a big influencing factor because you got to see it. And as all young boys, our dads are our heroes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yep.
so that just pushed you in that direction.
Yep.
Man, that is really cool. Did he have a lot of success with his plumbing business?
So he was a hard worker. He worked his butt off really for us. He provided for us. We had a great life as a result of it. I did lose him at a young age.
I'm sorry to hear that, Eric.
Yeah, it was just after my 11th birthday, unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we lost my dad. So then my life changed.
I'm sure.
At that time, God was a huge influence in my life. I was raised up that way. It was, church on Sundays, and it was just,
I know the routine.
But even as a kid, like, I loved that because I was excited. I saw what God was doing for my parents and everything, and it excited me to learn more about Him. But, when I lost my father, seeing that, my life switched upside down and my life began to take a change. I had this great deal of pain, anger. I felt like God really did a disservice to me for a long time. So at that moment, I really cast God out of my life. And at that moment, my life would suffer for a long time as a result of it.
Wow. So we're definitely going to talk a little bit about that, man. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. We're going to dive into that a little bit later, and thank you again for that. Would you say, and this is relative maybe, but would you say you've had more success in Unity Property and Pest in your company right now than your dad did in his plumbing company?
Yes.
By like a lot?
I just know, I was young when he passed, but my mother did tell me, his last year before he passed, he had cleared about 120,000.
Right.
So yeah.
All right. So you don't have to share the number with us.
Sure, of course.
But just to give people an idea, I know you just bought a company.
Yep.
Right, and I want to talk about that. But
Sure.
So how many employees do you have right now? Just to give everybody an idea of the type of scale operation you're currently running.
So currently we have 4 full-time employees. Obviously, I am still running route full-time as well, so I would count as 5. But we have a full-time admin and 3 full-time PCOs and inspectors.
Wow.
So
pretty sizable company. Pretty good. Congratulations, man.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure your dad would be ecstatically proud
Yeah.
of you, like beyond words, I'm sure. You ever think about that, how proud he would be that you've been able to do something like
I
this?
do, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome,
I do.
man. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit how you got to being a pest and home inspector. And you're unique in that way that you do pest control and home inspection.
Yeah.
There's a few companies in the country doing it, and it's becoming more popular. But for the most part, people are usually either do one or the other.
Sure.
And you do both, and I know you do both well.
Yeah.
Which is even more unique. Not
Yeah.
not to bang on anybody, but
Yeah.
to do both really well is a unique challenge in the industry.
Yep.
So kind of just tell me, like, how'd you get into pest control, home inspection? Like, kind of tell me that background. What led you to this industry? Like, did you work for another person? Just kind of tell me that story a little bit.
Sure. Where I'm from in Akron, we have a major hospital system, and I worked there for years, Akron City Hospital. Well, what ended up happening is they came in and all the departments that, especially the one I was working at, switched to part-time. I couldn't live on part-time work. So I was seeking another job.
How old were you at this point?
Well, this would have been like 2012,
Okay.
so this would have been about 12 years ago.
Okay.
So I was seeking other work, and I had reached out to my brother-in-law, who currently works for me now, Jeremy, and he was working for Terminex out of Cleveland. And I told him, I was like, well, he's like, come work at Terminex. So I tried to apply, and I was sending out applications to a bunch of places, but I tried to get in with Cleveland Terminex, and they didn't hire me.
They're lost, huh?
Yeah, they didn't hire me. So, but there was another local family-sized company in Cleveland that was it was substantial size,
Okay.
that did hire me. So I didn't know anything about pest control, but I jumped in. I needed a job. They were offering it full-time, and I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
And
That reminds me of, most people that are in the pest control industry, very few people or nobody that I ever met ever grew up saying, "Oh, I want to be a bug guy when I grow
Exactly.
up." Everybody that's in it is always like, "I was looking for a job, and I happened to get hired doing pest control."
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I mean, I jumped in and I was like a sponge. There was some amazing old school technicians there that taught me a ton. I jumped right in. I was just a sponge. I was constantly asking questions. I was trying to, and it really happens on like anything I try to do. I try to be the best at what I'm doing. I don't want to just get by on doing something. So I was like a sponge working with these guys, learned everything that I really could.
It's like
from
the
them.
old Martin Luther King speech: "If you're going to be a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper that exists.
Exactly.
Be such a good street sweeper that the angels in heaven rejoice at what a good street sweeper you
Yeah,
are."
exactly,
You
yeah.
really did adapt that mentality at your
Yes.
first job in pest control.
Yep.
Okay, wow.
So,
right.
and then as a result of that, if you want to jump in as far as how it led me to like really the inspection side of things.
Yeah, I do want to hear that story. So you started off in pest control,
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't immediately go into opening your own pest control company from there.
No.
So at some point you left the pest control industry and jumped over to being a home inspector?
Yeah, so I worked for that company out of Cleveland for about 2 years. And then as a result, they were sending me out, I got licensed in WDI inspections, where we go out and inspect for wood destroying insects. And I was meeting all these local home inspectors in my area that would hire our company out third party. And I befriended one. I became close with one. I was always seeing him out on his jobs, and we got close. And I liked how he carried himself. I liked how he represented himself, what he was doing. It intrigued me, the home inspection industry. So I reached out to him, seeing if he was hiring. He did not get back to me then. It was a couple months later, he ended up giving me a call, seeing if I was still interested. And I was like, what the hell? And I made a leap of faith, and I went and jumped into a completely new industry.
Wow.
with no previous knowledge on it either.
Let me ask you a question. So you jumped into home inspection away from pests just because it truly just captured your imagination and interest, or was
Yep.
there a financial? Did you make more money as a home inspector?
Not at first, no.
Okay.
I mean, he put me on as
When
a...
you did pest control, what would you start as a pest control technician,
Yep.
termite? So you ran a route,
Yep, I ran around.
and you left that to go do home inspection because it really just captured your attention. You just loved it.
Yeah.
You're very much interested.
Yeah.
And you went and actually made less money doing that at first?
Oh, yeah.
A lot less money?
Yeah.
So you really had a passion for home inspection.
Yeah.
Did you see it as something that could give you a brighter future than pest control at the time?
I did.
Okay. So was your intention going into home inspection was to learn it to ultimately start your own home inspection company?
No.
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 You just felt like it would, as you increase that skill, that it would make you happier because you liked it more and saw more of an opportunity in your future in that field.
Yeah, at least, yeah, because the pest company I left, there wasn't room for growth. Unfortunately,
Okay.
it's just what it was.
You were capped out.
I was kind of capped out where I was at, and that's just what it was. And But I did see a brighter future with home inspections as far as like, I'm like, here's this guy, he's a small operation. I'm like, there's potential for growth,
Yeah.
and I just took a leap of faith.
Wow, man. I want to definitely hear how you got from being a home inspector to opening your own business. But
Sure.
with that mindset of you felt tapped out at that pest control company and you went be a home inspector for less money because you felt like it allowed you more opportunity for growth. I'm sure that experience sticks with you now that you're a business owner with employees.
Yeah.
Are you very mindful of always trying to have a path of growth
Absolutely.
for your people so that they're not in the same situation and they don't leave you? Because that's ultimately,
No,
if that pest
absolutely.
control company would have
Yeah.
done a good job of providing a path of growth for you, you probably
Sure.
would have just stayed in that pest control company. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I absolutely try to be mindful of that at all times with my guys.
So what's some of the things you do to make sure, like, do you have a written out plan? Do you communicate it?
Absolutely.
Or is just, I'm going to grow and scale, and by scaling, I'm going to provide more opportunity?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, I mean both. I mean we do have written communication with all of my guys. It's something that we sit down and talk to. Some things.
So
they're
like
not,
from day one, this is what we want, and if you do this, you have an opportunity to do this, and you
Yep.
continue to have a growth path for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's important. That's real smart. A lot of young entrepreneurs, especially when they start, don't have that much foresight to do that, and that is so important because for me, anybody that's on my team, I want them to be growth minded, and if
Yeah.
they're okay with standing still, I don't feel like they fit our culture.
Sure.
And so I want to always try to provide them as much opportunity to grow as possible because that's the kind of people and culture I want around me.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like you're the same way.
Absolutely.
Wow, man. So you were doing home inspection. How long were you a home inspector for, working for the other company?
About 4.5 years.
Wow, so good while. So you became an expert home inspector. Did you obviously you ended up loving it just as much as you thought you would.
Yep.
So at that 4.5 year mark after doing it, were you making more money doing that at that point than you were?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was at my current, or
Yeah.
the pest control company.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
The pay structure that he had and everything else
Yeah.
like that was kind of commission based, and it worked out better for me.
Okay. So the big question, I guess, is, I know your dad was an entrepreneur, and you probably an entrepreneur before you even realized you were one.
Sure.
Right? Most are. Why'd you leave working for that guy as a home inspector, and what motivated you to actually make that jump and make that switch of becoming an entrepreneur? And having watched your dad done it, you had a unique experience probably to understand how hard it was and how difficult it would be. I know for me, when I became an entrepreneur, I always say that I was so naive. It was one of my biggest blessings because if I'd actually knew how hard it was,
Sure.
I might not have done it.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can say that, right?
Well, maybe, but I mean, it was harder. I mean, you have this idea in your head. You're like, I'm just going to start a business.
Yeah.
And as you start going down the road
I'm
a little
make
bit,
more money and work less.
Yeah, and that's
it's-
just
none of that's true.
none of that's true.
You actually work harder for less money than you ever have in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's something that I had to just really experience.
Okay.
But what made me end up leaving that company, Steve was his name. He was a wonderful guy. I had a lot of love and respect for him and his family, but he was okay with being just a small company, and that was okay. But then I'd hit a ceiling
So
with him.
once again, you were capped.
I was
and
capped.
Your growth mindset wouldn't let you sit there.
Yeah, and then I tried other avenues to try to help him grow that, allowing me opportunities to go and try to expand for him, and it just wasn't. I had reached a place where we weren't meeting.
Wow. Wow.
So-
I bet he regrets that today.
Maybe, I hope he's doing well.
Oh, of course, I hope he's doing well.
Yeah.
And when I say regret, no ill will. But
Yeah.
it sounds like if he'd invested in you and let you work with him, y'all probably could have had a partnership and grew
Absolutely.
bigger. He just wasn't comfortable with the hard things that it takes to grow. He was comfortable with where he was at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's okay. There's nothing
And it's
wrong with that.
absolutely fine. It just wasn't okay for me,
It wasn't okay for you.
So-
I love that. So okay, so now we're starting Unity Pest. Tell me, like, did you go start Unity Home Inspection first? Unity Pest? Did you combine them
I combined them both.
From day one?
Yep.
That was ambitious.
Yeah, so I started on both. And we'll just really get into it.
Okay.
So I had a neighbor who lived across the street from me. He's one of my great friends, Adam. He is one of my mentors, and we would have long talks outside at night. Just I saw what he was doing with his own company. He does like at the time he was only doing like bathtub refinishing, kitchen refinishings, stuff like that. And we would just talk, and I watched him literally jump in with an old truck, start his business up, and I saw him growing it.
Pest control business?
It was just a separate service business,
Okay.
something completely separate.
Okay.
But we would have talks, and he would just basically encourage me, and
Thank God for mentors and friends.
and that's true, because it was like people like him talking to him night after night, allowed me to build up enough courage to really make that leap.
Man.
And it's just like, because I don't know without it if I would have been brave enough.
I understand that.
Brave enough.
Yeah, I understand that, man. Sometimes, it's always scary, but when you see somebody that you're familiar with doing it,
Yeah.
and you see them doing it, that's all it takes sometimes, just to give you the belief that you can do it and the courage to jump out and do it.
Absolutely.
Right? And I'm willing to bet that friend wasn't telling you can't do it. He was telling you should do it.
Yeah.
Is that what he was telling you?
Yeah. He was like, "Why haven't you done it yet?"
You're stupid. What's wrong with you?
And I'm like,
Because I'm scared and I ain't
I
got
was
no
like,
money.
I'm afraid, dude.
Yeah. That's everybody, man. All right, so you go out day one, you're Unity Property and Pest, you're doing home inspections, you're doing pest control day one.
Well, no. So I started everything. Everything was legalized. I started my LLC.
How'd you, so this is always what a lot of young entrepreneurs, their first fear is, right, is where'd you get your initial money to start? Like, I'm sure, I know you bootstrapped it, right?
Well, and I did, but this is what I was tying into. When I first jumped out of the gate, I had maybe $100 to my name.
So you were really crazy.
So I had, I went and bought, Ace Hardware. I went and bought, plastic sprayer, plastic backpack.
Super professional.
And I had it rolling in the back of my Chevy Malibu.
Oh my God.
Sometimes
the starting and just taking action is more important than the how.
Yeah. And right off the gate, unfortunately, my previous employer, he filed a lawsuit against me for the pest control.
When you take massive action, the universe will push back on it.
And it did. So at that time, it was, I had a nest egg built up to, allow me for, several months to at least cover my overhead, my mortgage and bills. That was depleted with the lawsuit. I wasn't able to do.
So wait, he sued you like a cease and desist because you were doing pest control?
Yep.
And you lost?
Well, yeah, it was part of that was in our agreement that I wasn't able to do it for the first year.
Which so you wasn't able to do pest control at all? Or?
Yeah, not at all.
So, because in a lot of states that varies, right? In some states, and especially today, that can be hard to enforce. But
well,
a lot of times it's a non-solicitation, as long as you don't solicit that other.
I wasn't able to do it within 50 miles.
At all?
At all.
Did you fight that at all?
Well, I didn't have the money to fight it.
So you just bowed down and paid it?
Well, because it was either that or I put all the rest of my money into this lawsuit with the potential I could have lost, and then I had no money to cover any of my bills. So at this time, my brother, he had got me a job working nights out at Owens Corning. It's a major, they make asphalt shingles.
Okay.
So I went to working nights there full time while I was building this during the day. I was only able to do home inspections my first year, sleeping maybe 3 hours a day, and that lasted for about a year and a half.
Man.
So
entrepreneurs truly are the backbone of America,
Yeah.
right? So I'm just going to repeat that story because that, and I think I have a story not like that, but similar. And a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to, man, they really just have this grit and this grind, this persistence, and they're willing to do things that other people are not. Like work all night, right?
Yeah.
And then work all day, sleep 3 or 4 hours a day, and do that consistently for 3 years. And I bet you did that without very much complaining when you were doing it.
I didn't complain much, but I was miserable.
Yeah, but you persisted and you did it anyway because you had a vision.
Sure.
And you had such a desire of what you wanted to do and where you wanted to go.
I knew what I
and you
wanted.
refused to any longer be capped in your growth.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an amazing story, man. You are a tenacious young man.
Thanks, man.
No doubt about it. So now you've paid this lawsuit. You've worked 3 years for the
Year and a half.
a year and a half.
Yep.
Okay, for the
So now it's the end of 2021.
okay.
I'm officially able. It was May of 21. I was able to officially launch Pest Control.
Okay.
I was able to market it. I was able to put it on Facebook, make it public.
Really go for it.
Really go for it. Exactly.
Okay.
But then again, I was struck by that fear because I had this job working nights that was paying well, and I had a weekly paycheck coming in, but I knew I couldn't do both much longer. a year and a half was killing me. It was 90-hour weeks, you know, lack of sleep, you know, relationships in my life, friends, you know, everything was failing around me in that way, to where it's just like, you know, somebody had said a comment to me, you know, like, you always find a reason to stay out of fear. And that's kind of what I was facing again, was the fear of losing that security, and I just had to go for it.
Yeah.
You know, and I just said, to hell with it.
Yeah.
And I just went full time, and once again I jumped out on a leap of faith.
Man, courageous. That's a big step to go from that place of security to
Absolutely.
where if you don't make something happen and produce, you don't eat.
Exactly.
Right? And that's an entrepreneur that when they start, that's the real life
Yeah.
situation.
Absolutely.
And I see so many people talk about side hustles today. And I'm not against side hustles. I believe it. And I mean, you have to do it for a season, right? Like, and you had to work that job and then hustle. But when the time came to make the choice to be comfortable in the security of the paycheck or not, you made the decision, a leap of faith, to go and put all your energy, time, and effort into your company.
Absolutely.
A lot of times I see people, they get to that point and that's where they get scared and they continue to try to ride that fence on both sides.
Yeah.
And you can't ride two horses with one ass, so to speak.
No. Yeah,
right?
you
can't.
can't.
At some point, you have to make a decision to put your time and energy into one or the other. If you continue to try to do both too long, you'll kind of be mediocre at both, and you'll definitely never have the most success you could as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
I see so many people hit that barrier and just out of fear.
Yeah,
Right?
fear's
But
powerful.
you got to run towards the fear.
Yeah.
That's where the success is at, right?
It is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Eric. So now you're killing it with Unity, Property, and Pest.
Yeah.
You're, have employees. You're probably one of the fastest growing in your area. I know you are, actually, because I've looked at it. You're kicking butt out there.
Oh, well, thanks.
So congratulations. What is one of the things you contribute to your growth and your success? What's the one thing, if you had to pick one thing, man, this is really what helped me be the most successful and have the kind of growth I'm having?
Oof. One thing?
Two things. Go for it.
I was about to say,
be generous.
yeah,
It's hard to bow down to one thing, isn't
Well,
it?
I'd have to say my team too. The people that I have, you know, in place, my technicians, you know, so Jeremy, my brother-in-law, he was the first guy that came on board.
You had some challenges there, though. We'll talk to you.
Yeah, we did, you know, at the same time, but he's one of the best technicians I ever met. He's the one who got me into pest control from the get-go.
I've met him. He is a great guy.
Yeah,
by the
and,
way.
you know, Jeremy, you know, really, he was another one who took a leap of faith, you know, because Jeremy, to come on board with me, had to take a pay cut at the very beginning, because I didn't have the kind of money to produce to what he was currently making at the bigger operation that he was at.
Yeah.
Now, Jeremy,
So he bet on you, basically.
and he did, you know, and I'm grateful for it, because
And today that bet's paid off for
it
him,
has
hasn't
paid up for him.
But it didn't at first.
No,
Wow.
you know, so definitely my team. You know what I mean? I
Okay.
wouldn't be where I'm at today without my team.
Okay.
You know, but then also, I mean, truly, man, it's my face. You know.
I love that.
You know, and it's what it is.
Yeah, and you're a Christian, I know.
Yeah.
Right. So you put your faith in Jesus Christ. I know that.
Yep.
Man, I love it, man. So, how do you think your business has grown you personally? Has it strengthened your faith? Has it made you rely more on your faith? Has entrepreneurship, would you say, it's been one of the more challenging things you've done and made you pray more than you did before?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah?
Absolutely, man. But then, you know, it's just like me as a human, you know, I always find these times to where it's just like I try to steer that ship myself as well.
Yeah.
And lean away from God in certain areas, and then I can see kind of the destruction, even if it's not really,
Yeah.
right out in front of us, you know what I mean? But I can just see inside myself, you know, I start to get
Yeah.
a little too chaotic without it, you know?
Understand. So being an entrepreneur, you'd say, has forced you to grow personally. You've had no choice.
I've had no choice. Yeah. And I'm grateful for it.
And the more you grow, I always say that your business will never grow more than what you're willing to grow yourself personally.
Absolutely.
And a business is just a reflection of the person that owns it and runs it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, this is good stuff, Eric. Thank you,
Thank
man.
you.
I want to touch a little bit on this, and I talked to you. I know you opened this, and thank you for it. But
Sure.
you had at one point in your life, you had an issue with drinking, right? And I know I just heard your father died young, and I don't want to tell your story, but I do want to give you the opportunity to talk about that a little bit, because I think it could be inspirational to others.
Sure.
Because you have overcome it in an amazing way and are doing amazing things. Would you mind just talking about that just a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I lost my father just after I turned 11, and I had this comfortable life where I felt safe. My needs were met. I had clothes on my back. Never really wanted for anything, and it flips upside down, to where I just kind of rebelled. I felt like the world owed me something for what it took from me.
So when your dad died financially as a family, y'all financial situation totally changed
It
too?
totally changed. My mother, took on the role of raising all of us on a single income, but then I noticed, along the way that I couldn't see any of that. I was so blinded by my own selfishness. I could only see how it was affecting me, not what it was doing to my sisters
Wow.
and my mom. And then as a result, I carried that selfishness into other areas of my life, and it led me down a wrong path. It led me to legal troubles for many, many years, and led me to alcohol. It led me to drugs, and I struggled with that for a very long time. It was like that, I guess to sum it up quickly, it was just like that ever revolving door, that everything I was trying to do, I didn't want to like wake up and be that person. I woke up with the best intention. I wanted to be great. I was better than this. But the best I could do by myself was that behavior. And that's something that I couldn't do without God's help. And, what ended up working for me is that I saw, I'm a member of 12-step recovery.
Sure.
The men that I met at the very beginning of my journey, I'll forever be grateful for them because they led me back to God. And I didn't even
Amen.
realize that I had these things blocking me from this relationship with Him.
Man,
Fear and resentment and all these just things that were
Once
blocking.
again, it took somebody caring, kind of like the guy that was your mentor in Pest Control, talking to you every
Yeah.
night. It took other people that didn't even know you, that cared for you and loved you, to help you get through that and lead you to Christ.
Absolutely.
Thank God for genuine people. There are still good people in the world.
Absolutely, there are. And I know many of them, and I'm grateful for so many of them being in my life and in my circle. But I saw this work for somebody else. Here's somebody that was one of my best friends. I saw this program work. I saw him transform. I saw him talking about God and what God was doing in his life. And here I am dying on the inside, man. So I took a leap of faith again. And I went with him to one of the local meetings in our area. And, I met some of these people and they had what I wanted. And it wasn't money and it wasn't all these things. It was the joy and the happiness and the laughter and the warmth
Yeah.
and just the laying your head down
Man.
at night with the peace of mind.
Man, you're nailing it. What's
Yeah.
the scripture? You may remember it better than me, but He will give you joy that surpasses all understanding.
Absolutely.
And you saw people that were going through some crazy stuff, but they had a joy, and you couldn't understand why they had it, but you knew that you wanted it.
I wanted it,
Oh,
So
man.
I listened to them. They suggested what to do, and I listened to what they did to get what they got, man.
Man. And you just put it in a nutshell. It can be in recovery, that can be in business.
Business, absolutely.
Really, it's not it is hard, but it's not complicated.
No.
Really, you can always find somebody that's been successful, what you want to be successful at, and you just have to do those things that they're doing. But that can be really hard to execute because once again, we have to change our mindset and who we are sometimes to do that.
Absolutely.
That's why I can give somebody sometimes a strategy or an outline of exactly what to do, and they still won't have success because they can't execute, aren't willing to execute, or they aren't the person they need to be able to execute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I couldn't agree more with that.
Wow. Man, so your story is amazing, man. So how long have you been recovered now, Eric, if you don't mind me asking?
January, I celebrated 8 years.
Congratulations.
Thank
Man,
you.
that's amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. No doubt. I mean, obviously it goes to say, man, that's a huge testimony, and you're doing so well with unity, and no way you could be doing this well if you wouldn't overcome those demons and had to,
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Man, that's amazing. Have you been able to reach back now and help other people have success?
Oh,
Or
my gosh, yeah.
have you even considered maybe employing people from programs? I know that can be a subject. I know some people do, some people don't, and
Sure.
we're going to people's houses. But I'm a big believer in grace and second chances and wisdom.
Sure.
But just you personally, would you ever consider hiring somebody that you see is making progress in A
my
and
gosh,
A,
yeah, in a heartbeat.
just to give them that chance?
In a heartbeat.
You'd love the opportunity to
I'd
do it.
love the opportunity.
Have you had it yet?
I have.
Tell me a little bit about that. You don't have to get names, but just kind
Yeah,
of.
so the gentleman you met today that's down here with me.
Really?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
That guy was smart, man.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Really is. But I met him in the rooms. He was introduced to me in 12-step recovery, and, it was just a perfect fit for him. He was already interested in going into the home inspection field, and I'm like, this is I mean, if God's not opening a door for me, you know,
Yeah.
and presenting me with an opportunity here, you know.
Wow.
So,
Seems like God has opened so many doors for you along the way.
oh my gosh, yeah.
Man, this is good stuff, Eric. Thank you. I know you just bought a company, right? A lot of us that that are growth mindset, and most entrepreneurs are, we're always wanting to, either grow through digital marketing or acquisition. Acquisition can be difficult.
Sure.
We talked a little bit about it today in PJB. Paul was talking about it, right? And I'm experiencing it now.
Yeah.
It really comes down to relationship,
Yeah.
right? Can you tell me a little bit your story of how you got to purchase this company, and how did it impact your company? Did it work out well for you?
Sure.
And maybe tell me some of the pain points as well.
Oh, sure. So I just knew the original owner of the company. He's been a big name in my area for a long time. So I knew him from just some of the local Cs, the local trainings in the area that Akron puts on, stuff like that. So I knew him through the years.
Okay.
But it came to a mutual friend of ours, who I service some of his restaurants, brought it to my attention that he was in the market and thinking about selling. I'm
Okay.
like, so I looked him up, I gave him a call, and I told him, I was like, hey, and he knew who I was, but I told him, I was like, hey, I'm interested. We're also a local, small, family-owned and operated company, and we'd be interested if you are selling, because he's very local to our area. And we set up a time to meet and discuss, and that's really what started it off,
Okay.
So, in talking with him, though, he started, unfortunately, his health started to deteriorate a little bit, in and out of the hospital. So we put the whole thing really on hold. And unfortunately, at the beginning of last year, he passed away.
Oh man.
So
Do you think the stress of the business contributed to his health in any way?
it could have. He was older. I mean, they were looking to retire, from what I gathered.
How long had he had that business before you purchased it?
He started it. He founded it. It was, I believe, the early '80s.
Oh wow. So
Yeah. He had been
Long
around.
time.
He had
Yeah.
been around over 30 years.
Wow.
Definitely in his area.
Still in it. Still grinding. Okay. Wow.
So, but me and his wife kind of really picked up last summer and started everything again, and we started moving that deal forward.
But you didn't know her at all.
I had only met her the one time when I went and sat at the table with Jeff originally, to sit down and talk about everything. So I wasn't too familiar with her.
Yeah. So you had to literally earn her trust and kind of go through the process with her to make her, not make her, but
Yeah, but
she had to know that you were a trustworthy
absolutely.
person.
And through this whole process, she's become a great friend of mine.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
love
Like, I got nothing but love and respect for Dolores and everything she does for our community. She does a ton for the local food banks and everything in the Barberton area. She's just
That's awesome, man.
truly wonderful, wonderful woman. But yeah, she just become, really through this whole process, become like a friend of mine.
Man,
really.
that's amazing. And she trusted you to take care of her customers. That was
Absolutely.
and you do. I know you do. Really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That acquisition almost doubled your company overnight. Is that right?
It did.
Amazing.
And it was, this was the first time I've ever done anything like this in my life.
Once again, very courageous. Just jump for it.
Yeah, I'm like, it was just an opportunity. I'm like, well, I've never done this before. So I remember countless phone calls to you
Sure.
and other people at this conference, Maria, Jerica,
Yeah.
I mean, instrumental on just the fact that when I call, you guys answer, and you guys are just open and willing to help me with so much, man.
I'm so happy for you, man. Congratulations on that. So what's the future of Unity Property and Pest? I know your growth mindset. We've talked about it a lot through this.
Sure.
So what is your ultimate goal? Like, how far do you want to go? How big do you want to be? And then let me just give some context. So do you want to be a regional company? Do you want to be multi-state? Is there any other services you're thinking of adding? Like, where do you really want to go? Like, what? Sky's the limit with Unity. Dream big. Like, give me your big vision. What do you see for Unity Property and Pests?
I don't know if necessarily I'd want to be multi-state, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, that would be wonderful, but definitely multi-regional in my area. I would love to expand to be able to service more areas across Northeast Ohio, places where we can't currently reach because we're of our size. I would love, it's not I would love, we are going to, as the years come, adding additional services, wildlife, stuff like that we don't specialize in currently. Absolutely.
Okay. Wow, man, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
I love what you just said. You kind of caught yourself there. I think you said, we will.
Yeah, we will.
But you already know that
Yeah,
is something you're going to do one day.
Yeah, it is something we're going to do. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. And you will.
Yep.
All right, man. How has being a home inspector contributed to your success? First of all, is most of your business home inspection or is more of it pest control? What's the bigger part of your business?
Well, with the market the way it is and everything else like that, obviously pest control is always going to kind of dominate.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is like you buy one house,
Yeah.
we inspect your house, but then you need pest control for your house,
Sure.
and that's something that you need continually.
Sure.
It's not something that's just one and done. So pest control is always going to dominate,
Okay.
in that area to some degree.
I love that. I'm a pest control fan,
Absolutely.
obviously. So, how is the home inspection, how helpful is it in converting to pest control? In other words, do you get a lot of pest control business from being in the home inspection sector? So like, do you go do a home inspection, and from doing the home inspection, are you able to turn some of those customers into termite and pest control customers?
Absolutely. Yep.
What would you say your conversion rate is? Rough estimate.
My gosh, not as good as I want it to be, and that's just being honest.
Yeah, no.
Just
if it's not
trying
100%, it's not as good as you want it to be.
Absolutely. I mean, we're just working on systems to try to make that a little bit more streamlined. But I would probably say maybe 30%.
Man, that's good.
Yeah.
That is really good.
Yeah,
So you
about
have a really
30%.
unique niche there.
Yeah.
Wow, man. That is
And it makes
awesome.
us better at what we do.
Yeah.
Just being in pest control and, makes us better inspectors.
I love it,
We know
Eric.
what we're looking for.
So Eric, we're wrapping up here, but
Sure.
man, I think you've given so much encouragement to anybody out there that's thinking about being an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
Right, take those chances. That young guy, put yourself back when you were young and you were working as a home inspector and you hit that growth ceiling and you were thinking about making that decision. That young guy that's out there that's maybe in a similar situation, that's thinking about making that jump, that's thinking about doing it. From the man that you are in your perspective now, what advice would you give that young man that's kind of scared but considering doing that thing?
To do it. Absolutely. But also, reach out to other people in your area that are doing it. Network. That's what I. That's
So your
what
advice would be Nike?
Huh?
The Nike slogan? Just
Oh
do
my
it?
gosh. Yeah, I love it. I say that to all the time to my guys, just do it. Because I mean, fear, it can rob us. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
can rob
Fear's
us.
a liar.
Fear's a liar, and
Yeah.
it robs us of things that we truly want. And I've
So
experienced
I would
it.
context that a little bit. I do agree with just do it, but I mean,
But educate yourself too.
educate yourself, use wisdom, just do it. Have an understanding of what you're getting into. But if you're barely making it now, it's one thing if you have a really good career, it's really secure, and you're married with kids. To say just do it's different.
It is
But I did
different,
actually for the opinion of a young man. So
Yeah, that would've
if you
been-
are a young man,
Yes.
and you're barely making it now, and you're living in poverty, and you're thinking about it, or not even in poverty, but not really making ends meet, go for it. The
what do
worst
you have
thing
to
that could
lose?
happen is you fail and you end up right where you're at anyway.
Absolutely.
So you might as well go for it, where the upside is you can have a major success. If you fail, yeah, that sucks, but dust yourself off, you can do it again. You're just right back doing what you were doing before anyway. So you really have nothing to lose.
Sure.
Versus if you were older with kids and,
And
family
kids and a
and stuff
family
like
and-
that,
absolutely.
then dynamics change.
And I didn't have that.
Right.
That wasn't my
Dynamics
experience at the
change.
time. But
Well, man, Eric, this has been great. Thank you so much, man. You have any questions for me or anything you'd like to ask me before we wrap up, or anything else you'd like to add?
I'm just grateful for you, brother. I mean, honestly, I'm grateful for our friendship. I'm grateful for. I look at you as one of my mentors.
Oh,
And-
man, I'm
and a lot of
humbled
people,
and flattered.
Well, and I just mean that. And a lot of people in this group, I'm grateful to be a part of this. I'm grateful to be here in Orlando with you guys, because I always get so much from these, and I take this right back and I implement it in my company to be the best that we can be.
That's so awesome,
So
Eric.
I'm grateful for you.
Man, well, man, Sam, I'm gonna give you a hug,
Yeah,
man.
my man.
Come on, man. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much for sharing everything.
Absolutely.
So, if you're in Ohio, Unity Property and Pest, Eric Snider, best home inspector and pest control in the area. We just love this guy. Be looking for big things from him. You're definitely going to see him continue to grow at all costs, it sounds like, maybe.
Yeah.
And guys, if you got any value from this, if you liked it at all, if you have any questions, email us, and please like and subscribe and at Main Street Mogul. And you guys have a blessed day. Peace out from Orlando.
See you guys.